And Gabriella, your surname is Giubilaro.
Giubilaro, Giubilaro,
Giubilaro.
Giubilaro,
Giubilaro. Okay, let me just make sure. I'm
Giubilaro,
I'm pretty sure I've heard someone somewhere call you Giubilaro, but it's Giubilaro.
Giubilaro. Yeah, Giu,
Yeah.
Giubilaro.
Giubilaro. Good.
Great.
Giubilaro.
Yeah, because it's very strange for Americans because you read the I and then it becomes.
G.
I'm used in the beginning when I used to come to the state, they were always misspelling my name, writing G-U-I. And I was like, anyway, it was me no matter what.
Okay, good. Jubilaro. Okay, good stuff. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Mychal Bryan Podcast. I'm your host, Mychal A. Bryan, and joining me today, all the way from Florence, Italy, is Miss Gabriella Giubilaro. Gabriella, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you to you.
Now, Gabriella, you and I, we have an amazing conversation that we're going to dive into, and I can't wait to get there with you. But before we get there, for those of you who this is your first time joining us here on the Mychal Bryan Podcast, this is a podcast where I bring you interviews from yoga teachers, spiritual leaders, as well as mindfulness-based practitioners who are changing their lives and the lives of others through their practices. So if you want to continue to be a part of the momentum that we're building here on the Mychal Bryan Podcast, do yourself a favor, go down below, like this video, as well as subscribe to the Mychal Bryan Podcast here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, share this podcast with your other mindfulness-loving friends. Now, Gabriella, once again, thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you to you. Thanks for inviting me.
You're very, very welcome. Now, Gabriella, I have heard about your work for as long as I've been an Iyengar Yoga practitioner, and I have always wanted to talk to you and to find out more about you because your teaching style is one that I admire. I always see little video clips of you, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Instagram, and I am deeply inspired by the strength and the power of your teachings. And before we even get into your teaching specifically, I want for you to give us just a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and how it is you found yourself in Iyengar Yoga today.
Okay, I am a normal Italian person born in Florence and just very interested in mathematics and physics. So, and this is what I studied. I studied physics, and so this is my background. And for me, energy was only the energy that is on the electricity, and nothing else. And then it was by chance that I read some books about yoga, and then I was a little bit interested. And then I met my first yoga teacher, that was Donna Holleman, and it was by chance that she was teaching Iyengar Yoga. So, to be honest, I did not choose to do Iyengar Yoga, but I was attracted from the first class. And I was still a student at university, and so for the first 2 or 3 years, I was studying and practicing. And I don't know why I did, but I started to practice since my first yoga class. I went home and practiced every single day. And then the week after, I went again to the class and I practiced every day. And when I started pranayama, the same. I start to practice pranayama and asana daily. And I was, I started in October 22, but then and I was 22 years old, and then I continued. So now that I see when the students come, they are 23, 25, and they're like a little bit spaced out, and yeah, maybe I like or don't like. I feel I'm a little bit surprised how I could have the willpower to go every morning to the university, study, do my exams, and then still practice it every day. I used to get up earlier in the morning and do the pranayama, and I used to practice only in the evening when I was back from the university. And sometimes I used to finish was 9 o'clock in the night, at 10 o'clock in the night, 11 o'clock in the night. Didn't matter. I had to do my practice. I was much more diligent. I had more willpower there than now, to be honest. And it was, I was desperate to do the practice. And Saturday and Sunday was a full day of practice and the classes. And this is how I started. And then I met Guruji in Europe, in India. And as soon as I was graduated and I could, I worked only for 1 year as assistant at the university here in Florence, the same university where Galileo used to do his own experiments. Yeah, the same one. There is still the equipment that he used, and there is still the house where he used to live. And so as soon as I worked for 1 year, and then after 1 year I made my decision and I left my hope for the university. Who knows what I would do. But I choose to do yoga. Of course, it was a shock for the family, was a shock for everybody. At that time, I had one class once a week for students. One class once a week for students, nothing else. And I said, doesn't matter, I will be poor. I was sure I was going to be really poor, and I just choose to do only yoga. And then I start to go every year to Pune and to study with Guruji. At that time, I used to do the intensive that Guruji was doing for the Indians. I remember to go to Lonavala with all the Indians, sleep on almost on bare floor of stones with a little thin mattress, and doing yoga absolutely with no sticky mat, nothing. But I still remember the teaching of that time of Guruji was really great. So I think I'm very lucky that I started so young. I was very lucky that I had so much willpower, and that I could also get the really best part of Guruji when he was teaching, and Gita also when she was teaching. Yeah, I remember to be in the class, and Gitaji was in the class, Prashant was in the class. We were all in the class together, all starting to study with Guruji. And at that time, I did not know how I was lucky, but now that I see back, and I still have the notes that I used every year, I have all the notes from the classes of Guruji, and I still read it, and I still learn. I still learn from the notes of 50 years ago. So this is my story. I hope I was not too long.
No, never. That was an amazing story, Gabriella. And one of the things that you said that was really interesting for me was this concept that you would go to India and study with the Indians in the Indian intensives. Now, we know that there have been many intensives at the Institute, or many intensives in India, and sometimes it's the American intensive, sometimes it's the Australian intensive, or the Chinese intensive.
That was later.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, 1 year I was there, and I read a little notes, that there was opening the sculpture, we could go for intensive with Guruji in Lonavala. And I just wrote my name. And I was, everybody else there was not very few people from the West. And people were surprised. And then I don't remember if one or another foreigner wrote. And so this is how I became friends with a lot of Indian teachers. Yeah. Some
So,
of these people, they're not there anymore.
so what do you find is the difference between those initial intensives, these initial Indian intensives, versus the other intensives that were specifically for Westerners? Was there a difference between the two?
Um, it's a good question. I in it's not easy to answer. My understanding of the yoga in that time was not the same that I have now. So it for me the beginning was everything was new, and of course I could not understand everything. But what's very special that we were not so many. So the classes were not so full, and then slowly the classes were so full that we start to have one sticky mat next to the other one. So the first years I used to receive a correction every single asana from Guruji. I've been corrected, of course, screaming and complaining. You don't understand anything, you don't know anything, you think you are very good, but this, you see, how can you teach? How can you teach? It was like, but it was correcting every single asana. And then with the years, this was lost. I mean, for many reasons. One reason because of also the age of Guruji, and the other reason was because of the too many people, and everything that is good is attract a lot of person, but then where more people are in the system, more we lose the quality. So, and it did not matter for me so much not to be corrected after, but because what I've done all in the years when I was not in Pune, in my school in Florence, I used to meet with the other teachers and correct each other, help each other and correct each other. And this has been very useful for me because first of all, I learned how to adjust, how to help, and also I could receive the help. And so when you receive, you understand better if one help is correct, is too much, too little, is it working, is it good, is it intelligent? There are so many things now to understand. And so because of this, it was okay for me if I was not corrected in Pune. Because sometimes you are there I mean, not now because it's not possible, but before, you were there in Pune, the teacher was saying something that was watching around, I could see that many people could not follow because they were beginners. I mean, not saying, but when you're a beginner, you're not so much intelligence in the body, it's difficult to follow the instruction. And or maybe because they had habits and was too difficult to let go the habits and to introduce new information, new intelligence. So, and then if these people go home and then they start to teach again, thinking that they know only because they understood intellectually, then it's a pity, no? Let's say it's a pity. And for me, it was different because I had enough teachers with whom to work, and we would share information. When I was in Pune, I would teach to tell to the others what we did. The others would do the same with me. And so we had the opportunity to grow together. And this helped me a lot, to be honest. And because yoga, if you want to be a yoga teacher, but a Iyengar yoga teacher, we should not only learn how to practice, but also how to see the students. And it needs a lot of practice, how to see the students and then how to be able to correct verbally and physically. And it needs a lot of years. I have no idea, honestly, what I was teaching my first 20 years of being a yoga teacher. I was even doing workshop. I was doing intensive. I have no idea. I have an idea. I was teaching what I knew. I was not really, I did not have enough intelligence on my body to understand the intelligence of the body. After, when you understand the intelligence of the body, you look at the person, you don't look anymore at the person if he's turning the knee or he's turning the hip or the hand is in the right place. You watch a person as a person, and then you see if there is a stiffness in the shoulder, if there is a stiffness in the hip, if there is some problem with the knee, with the hip. So you go beyond the pose, beyond the alignment, beyond the action, and you see the person. And it takes a lot of time before you're able to see it. Before you're able to have this kind of body intelligence. And if I didn't have the guide from Guruji and from Gitaji, would be impossible.
Beautifully said, Gabriella. Now, today, in the 21st century, we have this situation within Iyengar Yoga where there are thousands of people around the world who identify themselves as Iyengar Yoga practitioners, and thousands who also identify as Iyengar Yoga teachers because we've gone through the certification process. So we bear this title of Certified Iyengar Yoga Teacher. And I'm curious to hear from you as you speak about this difference when there were fewer people studying at the Institute versus now, where, thousands of people have studied at the Institute and the hall has been full and you've had to practice mat to mat. You mentioned something about the quality that goes back into the world and that ends up teaching what Iyengar Yoga is. What do you think that quality is today in terms of the mass teaching of Iyengar Yoga? Because it sounds as if it's a little bit different from what it was when there were fewer practitioners and teachers.
This is also something that at the Institute in Pune, they are aware of it. And this is also why also Abhijata was talking about going back to the quality and not only to the quantity, not to make so many teachers, but to work more on the quality of the teacher. And I'm not going to discuss if the new way that you want to do is better or not. This is, who knows? But of course, as I said before, when a teaching is spreading more and more and more, there is a risk to lose the quality. But at the same time, even when we were few people, there is always somebody that is not so good and somebody who is better. And unfortunately, some people have the passion, the desire to practice and to teach, but they don't have enough ability to do it. And but they have so much desire that there is no way to stop them. I see this in Italy, I see this around, I see the most lost person who doesn't understand the right and left, that can't even follow in the class, but I love it. I want to be a teacher. I want to spread the yoga. I want to be. And so even when we're spreading a lot, if somebody really has the quality of it and has a passion, has a willpower, also now you have the ability to learn more. And I can say I have few students that follow me, that maybe not even from Italy, but even from outside Italy, that are really serious and they really want to learn and they practice. And it's very hard in this time, to have so much time for the practice. because now there is so much more stimulus. There is a television, there is the phones, there are the social, there is so many things that the mind is more scattered. That in my time, we didn't have a phone, I didn't have the television, I had only the class and then nothing else. I had to study for the exam and then I was practicing. So it's also a question of the ability, the possibility to have time for practicing, for being alone, to go in and to study. This is the word I use a lot with my students, study. And it's not study the book, but you study your body, you study the action you do. You have to study the reaction of your action. You have to study the reaction near the action, far away. I mean, there is so many things to do. And when I am a teacher, even with Zoom, I'm able to see if the person can follow or not. Beyond the ability of the person. And because some people are very flexible, but to be flexible doesn't mean that they have yoga intelligence. And some people force, so they have a lot of enthusiasm, it doesn't mean that they understand. So the ability, the intelligence, I use the word intelligence like Guruji was using, the intelligence of the body has nothing to do with the flexibility. And some people are flexible, but it's not really yoga. And unfortunately, when somebody is very flexible, particularly in the beginning, has the illusion that is doing the asana only because they can bend. And now, after so many years, I understand that the people that start yoga and they are stiff, rigid, they are more lucky. They're luckier than the people that are flexible. But when I started, I was very jealous of the people that were flexible. I was very jealous of the people that can push up in Urdhva Dhanurasana or could do Paschimottanasana, holding the foot and touching with the head, the legs. And that was my dream, to be able to be flexible. And then with the years, I understood that the work is not to be flexible, is to be stable, is to be strong. Because to hold Urdhva Dhanurasana or other back bends, you need inner strength, not body, not weight lifting, but you need really inner strength. And this comes with the practice. And the flexibility comes with the practice. Okay, I don't know if I answered your question.
You most definitely did. So, Gabriella, you have been around the world teaching Iyengar Yoga to everyone, and you've taught practitioners of Iyengar Yoga who have studied with other people, but you've also taught teachers of Iyengar Yoga who have studied with other people. What I want to know from you is, what have you observed as you have moved beyond just teaching your own students? What do you observe as you go out in the world to America or to Mexico or to anywhere else other than your home base in terms of the quality of practice, the quality of the information, and the quality of this intelligence that these students have within their bodies?
Okay, I don't find much difference between one country and the other one. I mean, some countries, the people have more willpower. When I started to teach in Russia, in Belarus, in these places, I was shocked that the people had so much willpower. They were forcing everything that I was doing. They were trying to work hard and do it. So I had to say, less, less. And even in comparison to Italy, no? And then also in comparison to the United States. What I found when I started to teach in the United States is that most of the people were one day yoga, one day Iyengar Yoga, one day Ashtanga Yoga, one day Tai Chi, another day. So these people, most of the people were not enough, okay? They were not focused, no? And then the year after, finito, no more yoga, no more, this is, and unfortunately, a little bit is also in Europe now, was not so much like in the United States. And then in the United States, you have a yoga school every corner. And so then the students start to choose the yoga school that is more convenient, that is closer, or the one that is cheaper. And so this is what I see more the difference, because otherwise the personality, no? Everywhere there is somebody that is more serious, more keen to learn and understand, and some people that they had this chanchalam, okay, is somewhere else, no matter how much you try to say, okay, be there. I don't want to say where I was, but I remember once I was teaching in a class in the United States, in a yoga school, and then suddenly I watch around. All the women were the same, with little flowers on the head, same nose, same lips, same body, same smile, same way, and I was shocked, same and same attitude, the yoga was there only so that they could be for fitness, and a little bit I feel sorry about this, because this was not my idea. Okay, I'm not a teacher for people to be fit, or not a teacher for people to be in good shape, but I understand a lot. I've seen, even with my students only once a week, how much the yoga can improve their quality of life. I have students that are 90 years old, and now they do yoga on Zoom. 90 years old, they just did the birthday a few days ago. Do yoga with Zoom. And then this particular woman, 90 years old, she has a wrestler home. She has the support to do head balance. She has everything. And the chair, of course, bolster. And the fact that she's doing yoga regularly once a week is really helping her a lot. And then she sent me a message, WhatsApp, and she says, Gabriella, how is possible that every time you do a different class? Can you imagine, in this class, I have even a person on the wheelchair, Zoom. So it's not really much difference because I'm very limited in what I can do. But they, particularly for them, they can see it's so clear for them that the quality of the life is different because they do once a week yoga, that they are my best students. Going back to the talking, Guruji also was saying, it's okay if somebody can't start the yoga because of back problem, because of physical pain, or because they hope that they get some mental benefit. But then with the years of practice, they should go a little bit beyond it, and they should go more for the, let's call it the spiritual life, at least, to go a little bit deeper into the yoga, not only for the body, but to do for the mind and for the spirit. And so I think it's a pity when I see that person year after year, they remain at the same level, that they are not able to go a little bit deeper and a little bit deeper inside to see more, to study more yourself, to use the best part of the yoga, particularly for the pranayama. There are not many practitioners that practice pranayama regularly. And pranayama needs more years than asana to understand the benefits, really more years. But then, particularly now, I can see that the pranayama is a practice that you can do all the time. There is a certain age when some asana becomes too difficult. because of age, because of strength, or of many other reasons, but the pranayama is always there. And the pranayama has a much more deeper benefit at the level of the nervous system, at the mental level. And so I try to encourage the practitioner to start to do pranayama class, to do pranayama practice. And this year, before we had the COVID, I decided to do a pranayama class every week. And I said, doesn't matter, I have 2 students, I want to do it. And when we started at Zoom, I started to do this pranayama class on Zoom, and I do early in the morning, Wednesday. And now is the most popular class of all my classes. And I'm very happy of this. And it's only once a week, but I can see how many practitioners are starting to have also regular pranayama class, pranayama practice. And this is good, this is important.
So, Gabriella, today, now that it's so easy for people to become yoga teachers, there really isn't even a period of learning how to practice before actually stepping into the teaching sphere. How do you feel this impacts our greater field of yoga? Do you think that there is some benefit in terms of the amount of people who are now teaching yoga in the world today? Do you think that it's important that the yoga is getting out there and it's spreading? Or do you feel that this may not be the most beneficial thing?
When you say a yoga teacher, you're not mentioning a Iyengar yoga teacher. You just say yoga teacher.
Right, no? Right. So I'm referring to yoga teachers in general, people who identify as yoga teachers, and how it's an industry and a field that's really growing substantially. And then I would like to talk to you about Iyengar Yoga specifically.
I can read sometimes in advertisement that you become a yoga teacher in 1 weekend, in 2 weekends, and now even Zoom, 2 weekends Zoom, you become a yoga teacher. That for me is unbelievable, but there are so many things that are unbelievable, like that you choose a teacher that is next only because it's at the corner or because it's a friend of your friend, and you don't watch for quality. And I've seen in my life many times that the most popular teachers are not the best teachers. So I'm not... for me, I understand that one person wants to become a teacher in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks, but I don't understand how a student can choose such a teacher. That's I never understood. Because if I want to do something, I want to do something, why to choose a teacher that is not good? Why don't you inquire and try to think, to say, is this system good? Is it, or you like this teacher only because you have fun in the class? And I don't know much of the other systems. I've been once, 2 or 3 times in class of different systems. I just went for curiosity. And of course, I am an Iyengar yoga teacher this way, so I cannot judge. But even inside the Iyengar yoga system, I never understood why the person don't have a discrimination when they choose to do something. And when I read the books about yoga, I told to myself, oh, in Italy, there is nobody that can teach yoga well. I knew that there was school in Florence. I say, but for sure, nobody's good. And I say, I will not do yoga. And then it's because I met a person and say, no, this teacher is really good, is really good. And then I went there, and then I realized that the teacher was very good, because I understood studying mathematics and physics, so studying mechanic. I understood that her explanation was so precise, her information was so intelligent, that I was really surprised. So I had a kind of discrimination. I had some, I did some inquiry, ask information, but most of the people don't do this. And again, I've been in some yoga schools around the world where I thought I had a lot of students. And then I finished my class and see one person putting music and just calling yoga, but was not really yoga, was dancing, had double people that I had, double. Because the people choose because they have fun, because they like or they enjoy. And then I say, okay, I have fun. I can go walk. I can go to the beach. I can swim. I can go with friends. I have so many things that I can do for fun. When I practice yoga, I want to do something that has some intelligence, that is serious. But then for the rest, I cannot judge at all other kind of school, because I'm sure that in every kind of school there is somebody that is serious, that has studied, that has some information, and some people that are just 2 weekends of preparation and finito. And yoga is the most abused word in now. No, they call yoga everything. They do with the hamaka, they do hanging, and it's yoga. So they do everything they call yoga. But there is one word that is abused more than yoga, is bio. Bio, I do say in English, bio,
Bio.
This, this is bio, then you buy. True or not true? So between bio and yoga, it sells. And this is a problem. The lack of discrimination, the lack of interest of people to go a little bit deeper.
So within our system and our practice of Iyengar Yoga, how do you think we can hold this space of discriminatory intelligence for the wider yoga community? What do you think we have now? And I'm referencing now because earlier you said that, back then it was so different, it was so good. Everyone was drinking from the same well of Mr. Iyengar. But today there are many of us who teach Iyengar Yoga who've never met Mr. Iyengar. We've never met Kitaji, we've never met Prashant, we haven't been to India. So my question for you is, for the wider Iyengar Yoga community that teaches yoga, what do you think we can actually give the world, even if we haven't had that contact with Guruji?
What I think that is important is to continue to study. And because I see that a lot of teachers, as soon as they have a certificate, they disappear. And even my teacher, Donna Holleman, after 12 years of studying with Iyengar, she stopped studying with Iyengar. And when I started, I thought that 12 years, it was a lot, no? And then when I arrived to 20 years of yoga, I realized that 20 years of yoga is nothing. And I continued to study, I continued to do classes. This morning I did a class with Raya, who was teaching from Pune. I continue to do all the workshops as possible, particularly with Abhijata. I continue to read the notes, to study the book, and I can see that there are some teachers that study regularly with me every single week, and they improve. And then there are people that disappear completely. And so if you think that after 10 years or 20 years, you can be alone and you can grow alone, is an illusion. Is an illusion. And I've seen also teachers that after less than 10 years of yoga, they start their own style of yoga. And this is even worse because sooner or later they are going to fall because it's very difficult. There are not many Mr. Iyengar, there are not many Aurobindo, there are not many of the, there are some particularly big person, okay? But we are normal people and we need to continue. In Italy, in our association, we have a rule that the teachers need to continue to study minimum of 20 hours a year. That is not much. We are thinking about making it to 40 hours a year minimum, because it's important to continue to study. When you are alone, you are always good. When you are alone, you are always the best. And you always find students that believe this. If you go to a class and the students say, you are a good teacher, I love you, don't believe, because you are alone, right? I had once a teacher from a communist country that wrote to me, this was in the 80s, I am the best teacher. And I answered, you are the only teacher. You're not the best. You are the only teacher. You are the best and the worst. You are only one. So when you are alone, you are always good, you are always best, and you always find students that love you. They love you. And when my new teachers just certified, they say, oh, but my students love me. I always say, don't believe. Don't believe. You cannot, your self-esteem should not go with the love of your students. We need to continue to ask to ourselves, to challenge, to doubt about ourselves. Okay, and I have another mantra for myself, because I say my self-esteem is not proportional to the number of students. Because of course it happened to me. I went in places where I had no students, or I had very limited number of students, or I go back to a place and then maybe the year before I had a lot of students and I have no students or less students. And I say, and because sometimes it's a problem for the person who does the organization, I say, my self-esteem is not proportional to the number of students. Because I'm not trying to teach in order to attract students. I try to be serious, and I mean, of course, I'm not there shouting and screaming to the students, but still, I like to show a intelligent work. And not many students like to do intelligent work. They want fun. And when they have fun, they love the teacher. This is not only yoga, it's in everything. Because I used to teach mathematics before making money teaching yoga, I used to make money teaching mathematics. And I learned a lot teaching mathematics. I learned that my job was not to teach something, but my job was to understand why the person had a limitation. What was the reason why this person could not understand something? Where was the link missing in their way of thinking? And I used to do this since I was in high school. I used to teach mathematics to my school, the other person in the school, because I was, let's say, famous for teaching mathematics. It's funny, but it was this way. And so it was always fascinating. And I say, why she doesn't get it? What's happening? And so before I had to teach something, I had to undo something that was not working. If the person was not, in Italian we say ragionare, that's the lack, no? Mm-hmm. Of the, and the same, that is what I do in the yoga. I do yoga because I think that it's not only important that you love the yoga, it's not only important that you like the yoga, that you have a passion for the yoga. To be a teacher, you need to understand how to teach. Not everybody is a good teacher, even if they have the best information. To be a teacher is something else. I mean, Guruji was a teacher, and then he could teach everything. I did one class of skiing in my life. In the evening, I could teach to somebody how to ski. It was very funny because it was so clear what I could. And I can still remember, I can tell to somebody how to ski.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to the number of teachers, it's something, I mean, if I could change the reality, there are many other things that I would change. There are some things like that are more important, like some people that are governing some state, some place that could be more useful for our society than the yoga teacher are not making big damage in the society.
Yes.
Something else. So I cannot change, but again, is a discrimination of normal people when they choose something to do that it's very strange for me. So we need more education in the school. We need in the school to teach people to use their own brain. So the problem is a little bit deeper than that. Much deeper. I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anybody.
It's completely okay. It's completely okay. Now something that you touched on, Gabriella, was this point of people coming into yoga because they want to have fun. And you spoke about being in classes where someone put on the music and the class doubled in size and that sort of thing. If you could speak to people about the singular goal of having a yoga practice, what would that singular thing be?
Instead of, for me, the yoga is to find, it's difficult to say. There is an explanation of Patanjali, yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha. And so I don't have this kind of illusion that I'm going to arrive there to yoga, chitta, vritti, nirodha, but still I have the hope to understand more my mind. Okay, so it's to study yourself. That's why I say study. To study yourself, to study your habits, to study your way of thinking, to see when your mind is scattered, to study your personality. And when you do it, there is a transformation. I know that I changed a lot since I am 20 years old, since I started to do yoga, and I don't know if I could do it without the yoga. I changed a lot. And some people that met me 40 years ago and they study now, they say, oh, Gabriella, you are different. Thanks. Fortunately, I'm different. I'm different because I have more, I understand better myself, understand better the people around me. And that's one aspect. But the other aspect for me that is more important, is also very important, is the ability to help, to support the people around me. And I don't have the illusion that I'm there, the Salvatore. I don't know if you know the Salvatore. No, I don't want
Savior.
to be there.
Yeah, the savior.
Yeah, the savior. But I want to be the person that can give support to the people when they need. I feel myself sometimes, and it may look like an illusion, no? like a rock in the middle of the sea with the storm going around, like now is happening around Italy. There is a lot of wind, and I'm there. So if somebody want to be there, can be there and can be at my rock, and then I will hold. No, because there is always in the family, in the friends, with the students, everywhere, the person that suffer, that desperate, they have trauma, and then you have to be there and you have to be present. You have to be there and support. And I feel this more than before. Okay, I had an experience last week. One of my students that was a yoga teacher died of cancer. That was very sudden because she didn't die of the cancer, she died of the operation that she did. And the cancer was very small, nothing, but she died of the operation as a consequence of the operation. And I realized how much after, when she died, when she was in coma and then when she died, talking with the family that I never met before, and talking with her friends, I realized how much yoga was important for this person and how much even the yoga teacher was important for this person. And so then I start to have a personal crisis, and I say, okay, if you are so important as a human being, are you doing this really? I am present for the people when they write to me or they call me that I have this problem or this other problem. And I am really giving what they need. And so this for me was a big a shock. So I try to be a little bit more careful to answer at once when the people write question on email or when they call. Of course, it's not easy because it's a lot of time consuming, but I think that this is part of our job. But to be able to do this, you need to have a lot of inner stability, inner strength, because it's very easy otherwise to just go from one extreme to the other one, because there is so much suffering around us, particularly now with the COVID. There is so much. So many people that are without job or without health, and it's in the family. I say again, I can see my personal family. I can see in Italy, in the society with my students. So I hope that my yoga practice can help me to maintain this firmness that at least I feel in this moment. And the pranayama practice is helping me a lot from this point of view. And I'm very happy, not very happy, I'm grateful that I had this interest in the beginning to practice, because now I've been practicing for 50 years pranayama. So if I don't get now a little bit of benefit, I don't know when.
All right, Gabriella, I want to ask you about the pranayama practice, but before we go there, I think that what I'm really interested in hearing from you about is this concept of alignment in Iyengar Yoga, because the yoga that you just described seemed like something that completely transforms your entire life. And I know, because I've heard from people before, that they think that, oh, Iyengar Yoga is just about the body because it's so based on alignment and it's so rigid because it's all about alignment. But what you just described had nothing to do with this concept of straightening your knee. It was this entire life-changing process. So what do you have to say to people who think that Iyengar Yoga is only about alignment?
It's even this morning Raya was talking and was saying alignment is not precision. So this was the first thing. You can be in line, but you cannot be. So first of all, the alignment, of course, I had a lot of thought about this. Alignment is only the precondition to be able to open some part of the body. It's nothing else. It's not the end of the yoga. It's only the beginning of the yoga. And so once if you do an asana, for example, and you don't have any instruction in what direction to go, you continue to open the part that are open, and you continue to be closing the part that are closed. So when you have in the beginning, when you start to go to yoga classes, the teacher is explaining you about the alignment and about the sense of direction of the movement. You know, you go to the right, you go to the left, you go up, you go down. So when you do it, and then you find some part of the body don't respond, because they're stiff, they're rigid. So without forcing, with the practice, you learn to open this area. So the area that are closed in the body, not only they affect the organs. First of all, they can affect the joints. No, it can be the shoulder joint, the hip joint, but that's really physical. But then you go a little bit beyond, and then you affect your organs. But then they affect the spine, they affect the head. Okay, the stiffness in the body is your emotional body. Is your emotional body that is in the body. There is no difference. No? So some people are stiff in the groin, but because they are protecting from some trauma that they had. So to open the body means to go beyond the trauma. And then the spine is stiff somewhere, but the spine is also protecting from, is a defense, is something. So so if I lift the kneecap, if I stand and lift the kneecap, that this will happen, the spine will extend, but also my mind will awake. So the lifting of the kneecap is affecting the mind. And even this morning that I was practicing one of the asana that we do often, Uttita Trikonasana, I was experimenting myself. Now I was doing the asana, I was perfectly in line because I was straight, but I was not working on the back leg. And then I lifted the inner leg, and then I found so much space on my abdomen, so much space in the chest, but also I found awake. I felt the energy that was going everywhere. Before I was dull, and then I became more awake. So when we practice yoga in asana, and then you learn not only the alignment, but you learn the action inside, the prana is going everywhere in the body. And then you start to feel it. And the beginner cannot feel it and can find very boring the fact that the teacher is saying, lift the kneecap, take the femur back. But if you don't do it, there is no energy, there is no prana going through it. So maybe you have fun, maybe you become a little bit fit, maybe you can run a little bit better, but there is no connection. Because when we do an asana, we have to connect the feet to the knee, to the hip, to the chest, to the shoulder, to the head. The asana needs to transform you. Of course, then there is also the pranayama, there is also the pratyahara, there is also the dharana. You have to, but through the observing the body, through the practice of the body, with the years of practice, not with the days, with the years of practice, you understand the connection with the other parts. And how can you do pranayama if your chest is stiff, if there is no mobility on the ribs? How can you do the pranayama if your shoulder roll forward? If the shoulder roll forward, the spine is sinking, the lungs don't have the space, don't have the freedom, don't have the possibility to open. So everything is connected. Okay, yes, I do yoga for the physical body, true, but because from the physical body I can arrive to my organs, I can arrive to the mental body, and I can arrive to my energy level. And I don't know again if I'm pretentious, but I can see the difference with me, with the other person of 70 years old. I can see the difference. It's not that I'm stronger. I mean, some 70 years women, maybe they're stronger than me, but the desire of life, okay, the energy inside is different. And this is through the yoga.
Well, let me just tell you that you are a very different 70-year-old woman. You're not the same.
Yeah. But can I say something if you didn't
Please.
ask? 1 year, this was many years ago, so I don't say names. I was at one of these yoga conference. Okay, that was a big fashion. I don't like much a yoga conference. I never liked, but I went there. And there was, that was interesting because I met a lot of very famous yoga teachers of other system, and some of also the Iyengar Yoga and other system. And I was shocked. I was younger, and some of them were older than I was, but some were even younger. I was shocked to see that the level of energy, they were a little bit dull, sad, gray. Of course, when they go in front of the student, they are great people, but outside, and this is when I thought to myself, I said, too easy when you are young to be a person full of life. I want to see the teacher when they get older, how they are. I want to see the level of energy, no? The wish to, this desire, not of life. And this is really, and so I don't judge people from the asana that they do, but from the energy.
I think that's a really special thing, Gabriella, because even when I look at people within my own community who are 70 years old and they hold themselves like old people, they hold themselves in this I think it starts in the mind where they say, okay, now I'm 65 and I've crossed the threshold of being elderly, or I've crossed the threshold of being a senior. Let me start to act like that. And I find a lot of people, they get so caught up on this concept of the years that they have, and that when I'm 50, I should act this way. When I'm 65, I should act this way. When I'm 70, I should act this way. But we've seen through our yoga practice that there are people in their 80s, Mr. Iyengar in his 90s, still practicing and being full of life and full of energy. And that, for me, as a person in my 20s, is something that I investing in when I practice Iyengar Yoga. I'm not just practicing Iyengar Yoga because I'm 28 and I want to be, fit as a young person, but I'm practicing Iyengar Yoga as this investment in my future, because I know what Mr. Iyengar looked like when he was in his late 90s.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. This is, I think, it's the society that is telling to people how they should be when they're 60, when they're 70, when they're 80. Okay, the women, the men, and this is yeah. And people believe. I remember I was very curious once I asked Guruji, and there is even the interview written in one of these Asta Yoga Malas, these books. And I asked Guruji, and this about the age. I asked, how did your practice change with the age? And of course, then he said, okay, when I was young, I was practicing because I want to show, I want to convince people to practice. Now I practice for myself. But then what he said, the age starts in the chest. This is a place where the energy goes off. So this is why this goes down. And so when we practice yoga and we maintain this area open, you are young, you're not old. And then he said, this is the area where it becomes dry. So we have to keep it moisturized. We have to keep it open. And this is what we do mainly also with pranayama. We keep this area open, also with the asanas. And so with my students, particularly when they are not so young anymore. Some people that come to my classes are old, but they are younger than me in age. But they are old. They call me, oh, I'm already 50, I'm already 60, and I answer, I'm 70. It's fun to be able to say, I'm 70. And I do a lot of arms up, arms sideways, arms back, opening, to maintain them young as much as possible.
I had a student earlier in 2020 who was in a class with women who were all older than him, women who were in their 50s and their 60s. And one day I got an email from him saying, Mychal, you think I'm so young because of these things you're asking us to do in class, but what you don't realize is I'm 40 years old. So I can't do these things because I'm 40. And I went back to class and I spoke to the students and I said, someone emailed me and said, they're 40, so they're too old for this class. And everyone just laughed because everyone in the class is that much older. So I think it's really interesting, these things that we tell ourselves as a result of time and our relationship to time. And of course, the aging process is inevitable. We all have to age, but it doesn't mean we have to get old, you see? And I think so many people are caught up with this concept that being old and being older are the same thing, but they're two different things.
But I have one thing that where I feel old. I am worried I don't have enough time to study what I want to study. So I feel more the urge to learn and to study now than before. Okay, this has happened. That's the only difference for me. Otherwise, even if I have a younger husband, and even if I am the oldest of the family, all my brothers, sisters, everybody is younger than I am, I still feel the youngest of all. I'm still the one that runs here and there, go up on the stairs and carry things and organizes because I'm still the youngest. But in fact of time, I am so worried that I don't have enough time to study, to learn all the things I want to learn. I'm talking about yoga. Because you should see now I am in my yoga center, but in my home, in my room where I do yoga, is full of books everywhere, all yoga books, all books that I need to read, I need to study, I need to understand.
Okay, so tell me, because right now I'm 28 years old and I feel nervous that I don't have the time to study all the things I want to study. So you tell me, what is the top thing on your agenda right now that you would really like to study in a deeper way?
Okay, I have some yoga text. I'm studying Sanskrit. It's already almost 15 years that I study Sanskrit. So finally, I am interested to understand the original text. So in the class where I do Sanskrit, but also by myself, I study some of the text that we mentioned, and then and it's easier if I give an example. Like a few days ago, I was reading the Light on Pranayama of Guruji, because it's always good to go back and read, because every time you understand something. And he mentioned 2 books. And so I remember that I had the books in Sanskrit. So I went the same day, I went here to my school, I looked for the book, and I wanted to find why Guruji was saying this, from the original text. So then I start to not only to read the translation, but to try to translate the original text to see what really was written there. Then I did a translation of the book of Patanjali, the commentary of the Yoga Sutra by Patanjali, the one that Edwin Bryant wrote. I don't know if you know that book. I did the translation in Italian. Every single text that he mentioned in the notes or in the book, I went to the original text. I redid the translation. And sometimes I went to Edwin and I said, Edwin, why did you say this? Why did you write this or this word? So, and this way, slowly, I start to be more and more interested of reading the original text. And now we are lucky because we can find everything in internet. Everything, every book you write, there are websites specialized in Indian books. And it's very interesting to do this work. I'm not saying that I read Sanskrit and understand. That's not. But if I read Sanskrit and I have a translation, I can go word by word and see exactly what was written. And there is, for example, there is a book, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, the chapter again about pranayama. I'm very interested about pranayama, okay? to see what they say. There was some word that I say, I don't understand why. It was not, it was strange how it was translated. I went to look at the original words and the translation was completely different because everybody does a translation as they think should be, not what is written, but what they think should be. And this is really human being, because when I used to do experiment in physics, I remember very well that if one experiment was totally out, we had to cancel it because the medium was out, so you have to choose. So, but in other words, what does it mean? That I had already the idea how it should be, and then I do. So sometimes when I transcribe, because I do regularly, almost every day, I transcribe some of the notes, because in the old time we used to take notes by hand, so I write in my computer, and there is something I don't understand, and then it's strange, no? But I mean, let's say I don't understand why Guruji says something, but I learn. I don't have to change. I don't have to delete, because if I don't understand something, it doesn't mean that is not true. Maybe I'm not ready. So I'm doing a lot of this kind of research. So when I write the notes of Guruji on the computer, and I'm slow, I'm not a faster writing in English. I write everything in English because I want this material to be available for other people. If I write in Italian, it's lost. I need to be able to do, because the notes of Guruji, what he was teaching in the 73, in the 75, in the 80s, not many people have. And believe me, he was much more generous before than after. So I write in English. And then I write, and then I try to practice, and I practice, and then I see, most of the times I understand why I said something, okay, only after I practice, not when I write. And then I understand why he was saying, you are stealing, you are a collector. And I was always saying, but I'm coming here to learn. What does he say you're stealing? But then I understood. He was saying, you come here and you write the notes, you take the information, and then you teach, you think you know, before you feel in your body. So, but at the same time, I'm so surprised that there's many information that I wrote in the book and I forgot completely. Because I wrote in the book, but was not in my body. So reading again now and practicing again, it's another Iyengar Yoga. I'm discovering a new Iyengar Yoga. And I have to be honest, it's a little bit thanks to the COVID, because before I was much more busy. As soon as we had the first lockdown in Italy, what I did, I went to my yoga center, I took all the notes I have, I went back home and I started to read and write and read and write. And then my understanding of the teaching of Guruji now is much more profound. And this is what I say. I don't know if it was more generous or if I understand more now. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But it's a little bit thanks to the lockdown that I have more time to do this work. So I don't know where we started. We started about talking about old age. I went out. I don't know. You ask me, what do I study? Okay, this is what I study. I study the notes and I study the original text. And the original text in India are infinitive. There is no end. But I study more the ones where they talk about pranayama, about dharana, about pratyahara, the history of the yoga, and of course Patanjali, the Gita.
All right, Gabriella. So before we leave, I really would like for you to talk to us about pranayama, because you've mentioned pranayama throughout this entire interview. So I would like for you to talk to us just about what your pranayama practice means to you.
Okay. My pranayama practice means that my mind is dull and heavy in the morning as long as I don't do the pranayama. If I do a good practice of pranayama, I feel the difference in my brain. My mind is more clear. And in the beginning, when I was practicing pranayama, I know that my practice was very mechanic. I was like 10 minutes this, 10 minutes this, 10 minutes this. It was like inhale, exhale, was like when you do the first Trikonasana, Parsvakonasana, okay, you just go and do. And it took many years that finally one day I was doing the pranayama and I found my hands soft. I found the skin soft. I found the difference, okay? And now I have much more clarity about the throat, about the nostril, about the hands. And even Guruji says it needs many years of practice. It requires more keen work, no? More interest and watching and observing before you can refine it. And I think that the most important pranayama that we do is Nadi Shodhana. And but it also is the one that needs more time before you learn, because you have to do first a lot of pratiloma, anuloma, so only exhale before you can do the Nadi Shodhana in a good way, let's say. I don't like to say the word right or wrong, but in a way that is a little bit more refined. And in one way, I'm lucky because I learned that Nadi Shodhana the first year of my yoga practice from Donna Holliman. I've been always doing, so I've been doing for 50 years, but I'm sure that it passed at least 20 years before I felt that my hands were soft. They were the hands that Guruji describes in the book. So maybe I was not a good practitioner, okay? And I try now when I teach to tell to people, okay, be soft, skin is touching skin, skin is touching skin. Then I receive notes from a student that says, oh, when I practice pranayama, I always feel your words, skin touching skin, skin touching skin. So I hope that my mistake helping now people to do a better pranayama. But I could really see what they say, that when you practice asana, you feel the benefit, when you practice pranayama, maybe you don't feel the benefit, but if you don't practice, you feel the difference. And Guruji was saying, if you practice asana and you don't practice pranayama, it's like to have a flower without the smell, without the fragrance. And you are losing the best part of your practice. And I can see now that this is how it is. This is the truth.
Why do you think the pranayama is the best part of the practice?
Because it has a deeper effect. Has a deeper effect in the prana. In fact, the pranayama means extension. Ayama is extension of the prana. Is the one that really in the asana you open every part of the body. So if you don't do the asana, there is some blockage, and so then the prana cannot run everywhere. But then you need the pranayama in order to be able to extend this prana and to fill every part of the body with the prana. And so it's the one that has deeper effect. If you watch all the different system of yoga, because like Patanjali has 8 limbs. Now we call Ashtanga yoga 8 limbs. Some kind of yoga has 6 limbs, some kind 4. Now there are some different system of classical yoga. All of them have pranayama and pratyahara. All of them. Maybe they have yama, niyama, maybe they have asana, not asana, but all of them have pranayama and pratyahara. There is no yoga if there is no pranayama and pratyahara. I'm sorry, but I really believe it. It's not yoga. You can call yoga, but it's not yoga. And it's a part of the yoga that has more deeper effect in the mind. And if you watch the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, okay, if you go and see the sutra of the pranayama, every like asana, every limbs has many 2, 3 sutras. Pranayama is the one that has more sutras. Okay, so you have something to do. You go and look. Patanjali says that when you do pranayama, you take the cover off, no? Prakasha. And prakasha is translated like light, okay? But Patanjali uses the word prakasha also for sattva. So because the whole practice of yoga is to increase your sattvic part of your system, of yourself, the pranayama is the one that does it more than everything else. Okay, yama niyama asana is a preparation. Is with pranayama that you can become more sattvic. Okay, so this is maybe can answer more your question. Okay,
Now, for the person who says that I've practiced asana for 20 years, 30 years, and I haven't practiced pranayama, and I am just okay. My practice is okay. I've done Iyengar Yoga for all this time, just asana for 20, 30, 40 years. I am fine. What do you have to say to that person?
You're fine because you don't know better. Okay, we can be happy of what we have, but we don't know better, no? But not only this is what I said to the students, start as soon as you can with the pranayama, because then in the older age, this is what you can find, what you can have. Abhijata once she was saying that when she went to the hospital and Guruji was dying, the last day, he was doing with the hands things like this, no? So he was doing this, so you cross the fingers and you stretch elbows out. It was pranayama, it was breathing. Okay, you can do up to the last moment. Of course, when you don't breathe anymore, you are dead. And in India, they say that your lifespan is long as many breaths as you do. So if you breathe faster, you die sooner. If you breathe slower, you die later. But it's not, for me, it's not interested how long is a life. It's the quality of the life that is important. The quality. And so, if more you refine yourself, not more you become flexible, but more you refine yourself intellectually, with your mind, with your energy, the quality of your life is a little bit different. It doesn't mean that you never get upset, that it doesn't mean that you never get worried, it doesn't mean that the life becomes perfect, but you can see everything in different eyes. That's what is a difference. Okay, sorry, I was saying.
Gabriella, it is completely okay. And I am so grateful to have had this opportunity to speak with you today. I have been so nourished by our conversation, and I feel so full after talking to you. So I just want to say thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your wealth of experience, because it has truly made a difference in my life.
Thank you to you. Thank you for your time.
Most definitely, Gabriella. Now, before we leave, for those of our listeners and viewers who want to dive into your work, whether they want to study with you, they want to practice with you, they want to hear you speaking, where can we find out more about your classes and your current schedule?
I'm not very good for advertisement. I don't have. I have a school in Florence that is Istituto Iyengar Yoga Firenze, and most of the people spelling the wrong way. Instituto in English is with N in, and in Italian is only IS, Istituto Iyengar Yoga Firenze. But if they write my name and yoga, they can find the website of my school, and then usually people write and say, do you do Zoom class in this moment? Do you do Zoom classes? In this moment, I do classes both in English and in Italian. I do the classes for Italian students in Italian, and then I have some ongoing every week class in English. And so people write, call, and then we answer. And sometimes we do advertisement on the website, like next weekend, we are going to do a weekend where we collect money for an organization in India that help children against trafficking of children. So we do, then this is in YouTube, in Instagram, everywhere, but usually I have this idea that people have to look for me. I don't have to look for people. So, and if they want to look for me, they find a way. They write to the school, they write to me, and I'm here. If possible, I'm here.
Good. Well, I will put all of your information down below in the description so that people can find your school and so that people can spell it correctly so that they actually find you.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Gabriella, once again, thank you for being here and sharing in this space. I appreciate it, and we all appreciate it.
Thank you.
And to our listeners and viewers out there, if this is your first time joining us here on the Mychal Bryan Podcast, or if this is your 100th time joining us here, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for continuing to come and share in this virtual space with us. I am so grateful for your support and for your encouragement. And if you want to continue to support the Mychal Bryan Podcast, please do, yes, go down below, like this video, as well as subscribe to the Mychal Bryan Podcast wherever you find it on the internet. And share this podcast with your other yoga-loving and mindfulness-loving friends, because more and more people need to know about these amazing conversations that we're having with these amazing teachers from around the world. So, until next time, I'm your host, Mychal Bryan, leaving you in love and peace and hope. Until we meet again, have a good one. Bye-bye. Gabriella Giubilaro.
Okay, if you spell my name, first name and last name on your podcast, people can find me.
Good, 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 good. All right, let me.
I don't know if they want to find me, but
I'm sure they want to.